I haven't died out yet, guys. To anyone who saw my last topic video, you should know that I love representation in all its forms, and the positive effects it can have. Positive being the operative word. I love seeing female leads and female-dominant casts. I love seeing racially diverse casts. I love seeing handy-capable people. I love seeing LGBT couples in my comics. I love seeing fans who are part of these demographics smile and enjoy the representation they've been craving for years. I love seeing Nazis and bigots lose their shit, and even more so, I love laughing at their own expense, the pathetic fuckers. However, while other demographics have been getting a lot more traction in their representation department, LGBT representation isn't doing as well as people think it is. Remember guys, just because you appreciate something does not mean you're not gonna criticize it. Basically me and all of geek culture. Gay representation does a lot of very important things. It dispels myths targeted at gay people by showing they're just like everybody else, that gay relationships are functionally identical to straight relationships, and that gay relationships are not entirely sexual. So you don't have to worry about putting them in your kids' shows, morons. Also, this representation satisfies audiences that have been starving for content, but while show creators and studios have been making strides, and I use that term extremely loosely here, to incorporate LGBT representation, it seems more likely they just want to win brownie points with their fans rather than turn out quality representation. They brag about how representation is important to them, say they're working really hard and it's going to be groundbreaking and revolutionary and a great step forward. But then they turn out something like LeFou, Mitch Downey, Korasami, or gay characters put through Hell's Meat Grinder. Studios and creators, by and large, also seem to be too scared to appear controversial and piss off conservative fucksticks, which highlights how cowardly they are. Not to mention the likelihood of you seeing an LGBT character in anything that isn't geared towards adults is next to nothing. Even though, let's be honest here, kids and semi-functional adults are aware that LGBT people exist. If you made it to 2019 still thinking that being gay is some nebulous concept, or at worst, an eldritch abomination, then there's something very, very wrong with you. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. Kids can have story time with transgender people and drag queens. Disneyland has an entire day dedicated to LGBT families. The only people who would take umbrage with this would be bigots. Or people who are gullible enough to believe bigoted rhetoric. But studios and show creators are still concerned about pissing off the cyber Nazis. As if that ever stopped me from publishing work and pissing off comic gators and kiwi farms. Or stopped Marvel from publishing content and making EVS cry into his cyber frog bedspread. But this isn't helped by fandoms giving quick and easy praise whenever they see even the slightest bit of LGBT representation, no matter how weak-handed or how offensive it is. The consequence of this quick and easy praise and lack of criticism from fans causes creators and studios to become complacent with the content they put out. They sit comfortably on their laurels, knowing they won't be criticized by their fans, knowing they can avoid the cyber Nazis, and never think for a second whether or not they are perpetuating a couple of very offensive tropes that poison LGBT representation. The first is hiding your gaze, where a show will supposedly have canonical gay characters, but will hide it under a mountain of subtext and keep interactions so minimal that you'd need a magnifying glass to even notice that they even have a gay character. And even if there is a gay couple, it's so vague that you can easily write it off as just them being close friends or the show just ship teasing. And not even good ship teasing, basically keeping it within the realm of plausible deniability. By the logic of a lot of fans, if you can hint at it, then it must be true. Okay guys, by that logic, Kirishima and the explosive shit are dating, or better yet, Deku and Shoto are dating. Shut up, I'm the captain of this ship! This also applies to last-minute reveals because it's the end of the series, the showrunners and studios have very little to lose. It's basically shouting gay characters then running out of the room like cowards. And the second one, and the more offensive one, is bury your gays, a horrible trope where a show will have gay characters but will have them injured or killed as soon as they are introduced in order to stay within that realm of plausible deniability. We'll come back to that horrible trope later, but oh boy, I have a lot to say about that. But let's just focus on the first one. Hopefully, by the end of this video, it'll teach you kids not to praise such weak-handed representation so quickly as if it's the best thing since smartphones. In the case of hiding your gaze, don't you think it's odd how you can be as obvious and blatant as possible when you flirt with the opposite sex, but when it comes to the same sex, you have to keep it as vague as possible and hide it behind subtext and never say anything outright? Guys, I'm not saying that we should have two gay characters have sex on the coffee table, but a kiss ain't gonna ruin the minds of children, for fuck's sake. If I need a magnifying glass in order to notice that you even have one gay character, there's something wrong. Now you're probably wondering, what about Kurosami, Bubbleen, and what about Shiro and random person Curtis? Oh, you mean the last minute reveals that I mentioned a minute ago? Here's the thing about last minute reveals. There really shouldn't be a reveal, especially a last minute one. Being gay is part of someone's entire character. Sure, it's not 100% their character, but it is a part of them. Why would it have to wait until it becomes a reveal? Why can't gay characters have storylines or discussions like heterosexual couples? Last minute reveals means the character wasn't fully explored earlier, and more often than not, it's just creators wanting browning points. The trend of hiding your gays is very well documented at this point. The Legend of Korra received a great deal of praise despite teasing Kurosami at the very end of the series, and the creators just confirming it on Twitter. And guys, that ain't how storytelling works! Adventure Time teased a relationship between Marceline and Bubblegum for years, only this time they actually shared a kiss on screen. But yet again, at the very near end of the series, they still got the same amount of praise, and it was called revolutionary and groundbreaking and progressive. And even more eye-roll worthy, Star vs. the Forces of Evil was called revolutionary and brave and an incredible leap forward for sneaking gay couples into the background. Heck, even lower than that, Paranorman in 2012 got the same amount of praise for what is essentially a small throwaway line just meant to be funny. Seriously guys, I say this with all the love and respect as much as possible, but you guys are so desperate that you are so easily impressed. Come on! Another example would be She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. And yes, I know the current showrunner is LGBT herself, but while the relationship between Catra and Adora is teased a lot, it's again regulated to subtext and euphemisms. The two characters in question don't really talk about the nature of their relationship, and they keep it very vague by avoiding certain words like girlfriend or couple or relationship and just call it complicated. And yes, I am aware of the dance scene. I know that Catra pounces on Adora a lot, and she sleeps at the foot of Adora's bed. But guys, again, it's still very vague and euphemistic at this point. Nothing concrete, it's just teasing is what it is. The show did have a gay couple, but they were introduced at the very end of the first season. Bo supposedly has two dads, but that was confirmed via the word of God. And yet again, you guys, Twitter is not how storytelling works. Side note, I am willing to give She-Ra the benefit of the doubt since we have more seasons coming, and maybe they'll confirm the nature of Adora and Catra's relationship and not tiptoe around the subject and actually be upfront about their relationship and not wait to the very last minute. Then we're good. If you do that, then we're good. But when you start emulating the mistakes of your predecessors, then you understand the concern. Again, if I need to look under a microscope, or read pages upon pages of fan theories, or need to take some hallucinogenics, watch the series a million times over, squint really, really hard, in order for me to see that you even have a gay character, then you fucked up on providing gay representation. But all this didn't stop people from calling She-Ra the slow burn LGBT romance of our dreams. You know, when Rooster Teeth of all things is beating you to the punch in delivering LGBT representation by simply having two background characters refer to each other as wives, then maybe it's time to reevaluate yourselves and rethink your strategy. Heck, Overwatch had Tracer, their flagship character of the series, come out of the closet. It's frustrating considering how simple it is to have LGBT representation, but studios and creators are just waffling. Guys, I know that some of these examples are gutsy to some degree in their own way, but again, I say this with all the love and respect I have for you guys. You guys are so easily impressed, and it's not helping. You're like a bunch of teenagers gawking at your friend's learner's permit, or praising your friend who just had their first beer, but they blacked out after 3 sips. That's not praiseworthy, that's laughable. To be fair, in the case of Ruby and Sapphire from Steven Universe, they're the better form of LGBT representation in animation, but that's not saying much. Ruby and Sapphire are a very well-written couple whenever they show up, but it's soured by the fact that they are fused as Garnet all the time. I do love Garnet, she is best rock mom, but Ruby and Sapphire constantly being fused means we don't really see them all that often. Them being locked inside Garnet a vast majority of the time is like putting them inside a metaphorical closet that is Garnet's hips. Sure, Garnet's personality might give us some insight into Ruby and Sapphire's relationship, but not as individuals. We only get that in the very rare occasions when they are unfused and we see them being a couple. And before you start yelling at me, yes, the wedding episode was an achievement. I won't deny that. It would have been the best episode of the season. That is, until they refused as Garnet and were put inside the figurative closet again. Also, the diamonds attacked, and Garnet had to share her special day with her arch enemies. Also, this is the last time Ruby and Sapphire have any speaking roles for the rest of the season. The next time we see them, they don't say anything. Maybe if the series supposedly continues, we can fix that. Are you listening, Rebecca? And I'm not going to talk about Pearl's love for Rose because that's essentially a slave falling in love with her master, and yikes, that's not good. Moving on. There's also the fact that gay relationships in Steven Universe are restricted to the Gems, a race of aliens who are monogender. Because of that, them being gay is a lot less offensive to conservatives or any fucksticks who would have a problem with gay characters in a show. In addition, the only non-binary characters in the show are only non-binary for the sake of avoiding interesting and difficult questions. The Gems are made this way to avoid straightforward LGBT representation and avoid criticism from conservative fuckheads. That's not brave. That's being very cowardly. But the show gets praise anyway. Now I'm sure you're gonna say, it's a lot harder than you think. Studios and their executive meddling. And I'm gonna stop you right there because as it turns out, that does not seem to be the case. Darren Nefsey told Disney that she was going to have gay characters in the background. Disney said no, and she just fired back with a very simple and direct why. Disney was basically like, oh, never mind, go ahead. The creators of Gravity Falls had a very similar experience as well. In fact, the Gravity Falls showrunners stated that Disney was scared of getting backlash from bigots. Oh wow, what a shock! From what I've heard, Nickelodeon executives were totally fine with Korasami and wouldn't have objected to the pairing. Rebecca Sugar, from what I was told, issued an ultimatum saying if she wasn't going to get her gay wedding episode, she was going to quit and take Steven Universe with her. Now, I give Rebecca Sugar some respect for standing her ground, but even I knew that Cartoon Network was not going to fire her. They know how popular Steven Universe is and how it's praised to high heaven for LGBT representation for better or for worse, and firing Rebecca would indeed incite a backlash unlike anything Cartoon Network has ever seen. Plus, it would label them just as much bigots as the actual bigots they cower from. Or at the very least, rightfully paint them as cowards. But yeah, starting to notice a pattern even when there is resistance. There's not that much opposition. The only real obstacle is the studio or the creators' cowardice. All this fighting tooth and nail with the studio is more like a British slap fight. Heck, you can't even call it a British slap fight by how quick the conversation even ends when someone puts their foot down. And well, you can't blame them for acting that way. They just want to avoid drama with conservative parents and cyber-Nazis. Guys, those fuckers will get mad the moment we put one gay foot outside of the closet. Regressive, bigoted idiots like that can go suck a railroad spike, and studios and showrunners need to grow a fucking spine. Or how about take notes from Marvel Comics? Recognize that it's 2019. Gay marriage has been legal for a few years now, and the best way to show support for the LGBT community is by having a well-established gay couple and ignoring the shouting and the perpetual moaning of idiots. Comic books have their own history with LGBT representation, where they started hinting at gay characters as early as the 80s, and then gradually, but very goddamn slowly, coming out of the closet in the 90s and the early 2000s. However, sometime around 2010, we started getting more visibility with gay characters, and nowadays, LGBT characters in comic books are becoming more commonplace. Although I won't deny the fact that along the way, comic book creators engaged in hiding your gays and bury your gays as well, from time to time, for the same reason studios and showrunners do it today. However, that doesn't change the fact that LGBT representation in comic books these days is leagues above what we see in television and is far more brave than what we see in animation. Although I do recognize that comic books aren't as visible as television, but at least they got their act together. But I'm sure you're gonna say, but comic books took a long time, why can't you be patient with animation? To that I say, the world is different now. The political climate is different now. Social norms are different now. LGBT rights and pride was not as strong as it is today, and we laugh and look down on bigots. Gay representation does not have that same excuse now that the environment has changed, and you have no reason for turning in such poor quality. Yes, I know this is the president now and fascism is on the rise, but does that mean we should pack up all our rainbow flags and go home? No! But considering how scared creators and studios are, they might as well kill off all their gay characters as soon as they introduce them. Speaking of which... On the subject of killing off gay characters, the string of gay characters dying is well documented at this point, usually used for shock value. It even happens in shows you'd think LGBT representation would be able to thrive. This is offensive mainly because it amounts to saying a gay character's only purpose in life is to die, which is something you really should not be saying to a group of people who constantly get death threats by bullies and bigots and are still treated like aliens all the damn time. LGBT youths are most likely to commit suicide more than any other demographic, so you can see why it's such a big problem to give off the idea that a gay character's only purpose in life is to die. Or even shunt them to the background, as if no one can handle the mere existence of gay people in this day and age. Bury your gays is horribly offensive, damaging even because it implies that gay people can't have a happy ending, or give off the idea that they're being punished for simply being gay. Considering that there are not a lot of gay characters, killing them off only perpetuates the bury your gays trope even more, and shortens the already small list of gay characters, basically taking one step forward and then several steps back. In fact, the history of gay characters being introduced and then quickly killed off is the reason why it's called bury your gays. And of course, since Shiro is the thumbnail, we might as well get onto it. I know you've all been waiting for it, so let's go. The subject of hiding your gays and burying your gays got a lot more laser focus after one of Voltron's most notable fuck-ups. In the latter half of 2018, the production team behind Voltron Legendary Defenders announced that one of their main characters, Shiro, is gay, and to highlight how much of a big deal it was, at a convention they showed a preview of Season 7 featuring Shiro's ex-boyfriend Adam. Naturally, since Shiro is one of the most beloved main characters in the show, and again, LGBT characters are rare, people were excited. So you can understand why the Voltron fandom was pissed after Season 7 and onward. The show executive producers, Joaquim Dos Santos and Lauren Montgomery, got the pushback they deserved. Oh yeah, LGBT representation is so important to us, the creators say, so please enjoy this gay character's gruesome death. The scene where Adam is introduced, his interaction with Shiro is very vague, nothing really substantial or concrete about the nature of their relationship. Starting to notice a pattern? It's so vague that it could be two people in a romantic relationship, it could just be two people who are very close friends who happen to be co-pilots. Again, very vague dialogue, and that is not good representation, that's waffling. And the scene ends with Adam supposedly walking out on Shiro because Adam views him as being reckless, going on the Kerberos mission despite having a very degenerative disease that could threaten his life. Just so we can add more misery to Shiro's life! It's not like Shiro was abducted by the Galra, was forced to fight for his life, got his arm cut off, then there's his PTSD, his degenerative disease, he got separated from his lion, he disappeared, oh, and then there was the business with the clone, his friends couldn't trust him, also Keith was nearly killed by the clone, Shiro nearly died, twice, and pretty much as soon as after Adam is introduced, he is shown to have died in combat. Jesus arse-holding Christ, and I thought Bill Potts had it bad, and she was shot through the chest and turned into a Cyberman. Can someone give this perfect man a hug? Please? And making matters worse, when Shiro visits Adam's memorial plaque, Shiro is grieving, but the dialogue is so vague that it could be him mourning his ex, it could be him mourning his coworker. You know what would have made all the difference? A simple I love you in addition to that I'm sorry. Oh, but it's not all bad. Shiro does become the pilot of Atlas. True, that's ignoring the significance of him bonding with his black lion. The Atlas comes out of nowhere, and him getting Atlas is not as significant as him bonding with his lion. Also, for anyone who wants to keep using the Atlas argument, you can't cuddle with your giant robot when you lay alone at night as you stare into the empty other half of your bed where your lover used to be. Okay, that got too dark. Oh, wait, but Shiro got married at the end. See, he gets a happy ending. It would have been better if there wasn't any executive meddling. Yeah, let's talk about that, specifically Season 8 and JDS himself and the lengths that he will go. In a lot of interviews, panels, and podcasts with the show crew, JDS makes it very clear that Shiro was popular with fans and DreamWorks executives, and a lot of their co-workers too. But at the same time, JDS also stated that he planned for Shiro to kick the bucket in Season 2, assuming everyone would be okay with that. DreamWorks told him no, and the showrunners did not stop there in their bid to kick Shiro to the curb. JDS and Montgomery kept getting worse as the show went on, and it's reflected in how Shiro is treated in the show. Considering that, the showrunners supposedly planned to have Shiro be introduced as gay from the start, waited this long to tell us, and still treated him like crap along the way, it says a lot about JDS and Montgomery as people. They may not have intended to be offensive, but intent does not matter compared to your actions. What matters is not what you intended, what matters is what you did. Intent is not magical. If you back into someone with your car, the fact that you didn't mean to hurt them doesn't change the fact that you broke their leg. Being one of their best characters, a character who is Japanese, gay, a war hero, an amputee, in such a depressing and offensive manner cannot and should not be acceptable. Especially when the showrunners bragged about how, oh, representation is so important to us, you guys. We really are fighting for you. We really care about our gay fans. As for Season 8, apparently it was rushed, and the reason why for that is because it had to be revamped. We don't know what the season would have been like originally, however, it's safe to assume it must have been that bad if DreamWorks intervened in such a big way, and demanding that the season be revamped. I say that this is a safe assumption to make considering that the show's tone has been getting darker and edgier, like I was reliving DC Comics. Also, let's not forget that the showrunners really wanted to get rid of Shiro. DreamWorks, despite JDS's whining, has only been meddling in a very minor capacity that we know of. So the original version of Season 8 must have been that bad to warrant an intervention by DreamWorks and a total revamp. Sure, should DreamWorks have intervened sooner, even if JDS was basically warping the minds of uncritically minded audiences to scream executive meddling? Well, yes, they should have intervened, but JDS should have lived up to his promise that he and his crew were gonna do better next season, and not engage in tropes that are harmful to LGBT representation. Again. At the time, I wanted to give JDS and his crew the benefit of the doubt for Season 8, and that they would treat Shiro better, and that they would do better in the representation department, but no. What's that? You still think the studio is at fault, and they should have let the showrunners do what they wanted, and the show might not have been bad if they just didn't issue a last-minute revamp? Well, try being a DreamWorks executive responsible for a show that has been failing with the audiences the past 2 seasons. The producers of that show, again, a show your studio is associated with, turned out something that you know is going to upset the fandom even more, and this is after a major backlash that warranted news headlines like this. You have no choice but to issue a revamp so that way it's less offensive and reduce the explosion. Yes, you'll still get an explosion, but it's better than making the same mistake twice. The same horrible mistake twice. Yeah, Season 8 was still bad, it was rushed, but still could have been far worse. If anyone deserves the "this is all we could do" excuse, it's not the ones who have been playing the martyr act all this time, it's the DreamWorks executives. They deserve the benefit of the doubt. Also, side note, apparently there was an unapproved story where Shiro returns and reclaims the Black Lion, but JDS did not submit it. It wasn't rejected, but JDS tried to spin it as if it was DreamWorks' fault, when in reality, he just didn't care about Shiro returning. He wanted Keith to be the main hero. And people still claim that we should be grateful? Oh sure, we should totally be grateful for these people. After they bragged about how representation is so important to them, after putting one of their best and most beloved characters through hell's meat grinder, killing off a gay character for shock value, painting the studio as the one solely at fault, stating that they totally knew what bury your gaze is, not following up on the promise and apology that they made that they would do better next time. Oh, we totally need to be grateful, you guys. Yes, a part of me is happy that Shiro got married, but it's to some random guy who we've never met before, apparently his name is Curtis, but he's never even exchanged one bit of dialogue with Shiro, and let's not forget, it's at the end, another last-minute reveal. And as I stated with Korasami and Bubbling, that does not fly. Heck, in Shiro's case, it's even worse considering that we at least know who Korra, Asami, Marceline, and Bubblegum are. The showrunners put Shiro through hell and they thought they could mend it by having him be married to some random guy, and have it be literally the last frame of the series. This is an achievement not worth a trophy, but scorn. And scorn is what it got. I'm very sure a lot of you are going to respond saying, oh, at least it's better than nothing. But that's like telling me to be grateful after walking down an 8-mile-long iron hallway with no ventilation in the middle of the Nevada desert during the hottest day of the summer, with a vague promise of ice cream at the end. Yeah, I got my ice cream, but the experience was excruciating. Also, the ice cream is halfway melted, and it's very bland. It's not even my favorite ice cream, too. And you still expect me to be grateful. You know what's better than nothing? YouTube. Sure, it's better than nothing. It's the best way to get noticed on the internet if you want to do videos, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't get angry when YouTube's copyright system screws us over. Or the fact that alt-right fuckheads are allowed to host their own content on YouTube, and YouTube does nothing about it. LGBT representation can do so much better, and we gotta stop praising such weak-handed sorry excuses for representation already. especially if it's clear that the creators just want brownie points, especially when they are getting lazier and sloppier. No more easy praise, you guys. We need to put our foot down. Stop with the background characters. Stop with the last minute reveal. Stop with the creators who only show up very rarely. Stop with the vague dialogue and hints buried in subtext. Stop putting your gay characters through hell's meat grinder and depriving them of happiness. And stop killing off your gay characters, damn it. Oh, and creators and studios, no more cowering in fear in front of conservatives. If showrunners and studios want that well-deserved praise, then they gotta stop waffling around the subject. Stop being subtle to the point where your gay character might as well not even exist. Those of you who have made it this far in the video are probably thinking I'm such a big, meanie poop head to creators who just want to entertain us. Well, firstly, if you made it this far, then hopefully you understand what kind of problem we're dealing with. And if your biggest problem is my tone, then congratulations, you have a very weak-ass constitution and very weak listening skills. Secondly, any good creator will tell you that legit criticism is how you grow and evolve. You're not going to get any better unless someone tells you how you fucked up. And as I said before, undeserved praise breeds complacency. Plus, if you can reliably spot good criticism, then you can reliably filter out the bad criticism and you will improve. You're not going to get that by surrounding yourself with 100% praise all the time. If you're a content creator, if you're a writer and you want to introduce gay characters, here's how you do it. If you plan to have gay characters, make sure they're in the main cast, and if they're gonna flirt with the same sex, be as blatant as you would be with straight characters. If you're going to have a gay relationship with a main character, try having it established in the middle of the series so we can see the relationship bloom and it becomes the new norm. Or do something better than that, have the two main characters already be in a relationship from the start and then refer to each other as boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, wife, or husband. Don't dawdle around it. Heck, even Shiro could have been easily fixed. Shiro and Allura are at a gala held in the Paladin's honor. Allura notices a cute guy and says, "Oh, I dare say he is handsome, he must be a prince." And Shiro looks as well and replies, "Yeah, he's definitely my type." They both look at each other with a grin and do rock, paper, scissors to see who gets the cute guy, and Shiro wins. Then Space Dad goes over to casually flirt with the handsome fellow. It's so simple, yet so direct. Also, don't make Shiro's life a living hell. Now I need to clarify, this isn't a problem with the characters themselves, this is a problem with the creators. Why not just give us the gay equivalent of Lois and Clark, or the lesbian equivalent of Gomez and Morticia Adams, or the gay version of Peter Parker and Mary Jane? You know, minus the deal with the devil. We've been writing romances since the dawn of time. This should not be an alien concept for you guys. If you can write a straight couple, then you can write a gay couple. And if they turn out to be good characters like Ruby, Sapphire, Marceline, Bubblegum, and Shiro, then stop wasting good storytelling opportunities with such good characters. And if a studio or a showrunner can't even do that, then they better not be going around bragging about how representation is so important to them, yet they produce another LeFou, another Korasami, another Shiro put through hell. And if you are a fan of these shows, how can you help? For starters, stop praising this stuff as if it's God's gift to animation, or as some progressive, brave leap forward every single time. Now, I gotta make this part very, very clear. I'm not saying that you should go harass the creators or studios. Far from it. But they're not going to change if they feel like they don't have to change. They won't recognize that they fucked up unless someone tells them that they fucked up. Voice your disappointment. Keep having deep, serious discussions. Convince them how it could be done better. And don't make it easy for them. Don't let them fall back into complacency. If DC can change their dark outlook on life after being criticized for years, then so can others. Other demographics have gotten farther in the representation department, and LGBT rights and advocacy are stronger than they were years ago. It's time we all realize that, because creators can do better than this. Best Space Dad deserves better than this. Best Rock Mom deserves better than this. And gay companions deserve better than this. I'm probably talking to myself now at the end of the video, and you're all probably typing out your very, very angry comments. But if anyone would like to suggest my next topic video, here are your options. Tell me in the comments below. Don't worry, I'll get to all of them, most definitely, because I'll be approving them all. Remember guys, keep it gay.
This is Garnet, back together, and I'm never going to